Good afternoon, everybody, and I hope you've had an insightful morning and afternoon so far at the Congress. My name's Allyson Gayle, and my session today is entitled Mind the Gap, How to Improve Your Wellbeing Programme. To my left is my counterpart, Sue Pemberton. She heads up the Employer Services division at Premier and specialises in financial wellbeing. Sue will also assist me today with any questions that you may have at the end. So in terms of an overview, we're going to look at how to determine where you are now in order to identify where you need to get to next. We're going to look at wellbeing return on investment and how to make wellbeing, how to push wellbeing up in your company agenda. And also look at insights into how to repurpose and to get creative with your existing benefits and wellbeing budget. I thought it'd be useful just to start with some statistics, which, as you can see, are very, very powerful. 131 million days are lost to sickness each year. I think, interestingly, 60% of employees have experienced mental health issues directly work-related. This may not show on your absence records, but it's the #1 cause of long-term absenteeism. It's a massive, massive problem at the moment, as I'm sure you're aware. We get lots of media coverage at the moment. It's something that we definitely need to get a strong hold on. So which one of these have you had experience with in your organisation and your people? Has it been easy to identify? Can you identify them? And if you can, how do you deal with it? Within your organisation, there's always going to be somebody somewhere dealing with one or a number of these issues at any one time. This can lead to low staff morale, and it's infectious. It only takes one person in one team to affect the whole team, which then goes on to a lack of focus, a lack of energy, and most of all, absenteeism. That's easy, or relatively easy to measure, but it's presenteeism which is the danger. Incredibly difficult to measure, and it has a massive impact on productivity. Therefore, the bottom line, basically, and that's when your board goes, what's going on? How do we deal with this? So where are you now? Benefits have been around for a long time. They come in different guises, they're defined differently, and in many different ways. Some organisations have fantastic work environments and also an embedded and insightful company culture, and engage with their employees in many different ways with many different mediums. But it's not just about one in isolation, it's about all of them and how they interact together. So where do you start? Take stock of what you've got, because what you're probably doing already is good. It's just repositioning and thinking about it maybe a little bit differently. Don't forget about what you offer, the little things such as the free fruit on the Monday, the gym membership. Don't forget those little things. But also focus on all areas of wellbeing and not just the areas of wellbeing that you are comfortable with. You can then prioritise any gaps that you might have, and also use the MI that you already have access to, your absence records, those trends, the attendance records. Don't forget those, because you're already doing fantastic work already. Again, it's just about pulling it together and being a bit more strategic and cute with how you report on it and how you use it. Importantly, engage your professional advisors. They are the experts in this area and should be really supporting you and guiding you through this project. So easier said than done, huh? Nobody has time. We've always got a problem with time. But with wellbeing, it's very important that you engage all key stakeholders, okay? Whether they are existing or new potential stakeholders. What do I mean by that? And it could be somebody in the organisation that has a personal interest or has a personal connection to wellbeing. They are your champions. They're going to want to get involved and help you with your wellbeing programme, sharing the load, okay, which will free up the time for you to concentrate on strategy rather than the delivery of this project. Sue and I affectionately deem or term these people wellbeing ambassadors. Okay, we have a mutual client who are a national car sales team, and the London offices had a personal connection with the Macmillan Coffee Morning, and they had a previous great success in London, but it just wasn't going nationally. So they sort of sat back, and it was a simple and effective way of doing it. They sent an email out across the UK saying, we're going to have a Macmillan Coffee Morning. Everybody take pictures, engage clients, engage suppliers, engage your team, send them in to us at the end, and we put them on the intranet. That's exactly what happened, and they blogged and they commented, and the camaraderie was amazing. But it changed the shape of their wellbeing programme drastically. Such little input made a massive difference to that organisation. So, I'm probably preaching to the converted here, otherwise you wouldn't be here if wellbeing wasn't important to yourselves. Many of you already have awesome wellbeing strategies in place and programs in place, but there is always a cost to implementation and the ongoing running of such programs. It might be helpful to consider the existing budget that you already have and repositioning that and understanding where your gaps are and where you want the program to be in that any one particular year, and also as future-proof as you can get it. Okay? Again, your professional advisors are experts in this area and really should be helping you with those budget concerns and how to reshape the spend that you're already using. I think this statistic speaks for itself. This came from the British Heart Foundation and is rather compelling. Essentially, return on investment in wellbeing is real. So now that you've got your programme up and running, you've got it across the line with the board, your shareholders, your senior leadership team, what's next? Just don't lose the momentum, effectively. How do you do this, though? Wellbeing governance. Once you've got your programme in place, it's incredibly important to make sure that you keep it robust, you keep it fresh, and you keep it as future-proof as you can. The way we suggest you do this is through a wellbeing governance committee. And what you can do, you can set objectives, okay? It's important that you reflect on how the programme performed the previous year, whether it's successful or not, again, so you can reposition and keep the wellbeing programme exactly where you need it to be so you can achieve the right outcomes. Once you've set your objectives and you've engaged those key stakeholders, including your wellbeing ambassadors, and you've identified the priorities there, you can then have an action plan and put that action plan in place. And again, if you've got the right key stakeholders and your wellbeing ambassadors, you're sharing the load. You as HR professionals can concentrate on the strategy, and your wellbeing ambassadors and your other key stakeholders that are within your wellbeing committee can concentrate on the delivery. That can only achieve the right outcomes and the best member outcomes that ultimately you want to be able to deliver. Part of that is you will obviously have members, you're probably familiar with governance in a pension, guys. And what we found, what Sue and I have found, some of the key stakeholders that are involved both in the pension governance committee are also involved in the wellbeing governance committee. And what was worked well for some of our clients is that we marry the two meetings together. Again, going back to time, we never have enough of it. Why don't we utilise that time better and have the two meetings together and have a more structured, a more meaningful conversation and a more meaningful use of time? The outcome of that, governance is always is key, I would say, because you want to be engaging your board, your shareholders. They are really interested in this at the moment. They need to report on it. But what we've seen is a disconnect in the language that we all use and the language they use. They just don't get it. But I think with a wellbeing governance and the way you report on it, in terms of your return on investment, that's their language. They want to see what's happening. Your wellbeing governance is going to fit perfectly. Within the governance report, you're going to have dashboards which are going to evidence the work, the good work that you guys have been doing, and that's the thing the board members want to see. I thought it'd be useful just to touch on a case study. One of our clients is a sports motor racing team, get my teeth in, and they had a diverse population. Very, very diverse. It's from one extreme to the other. So young dynamic engineers just coming out of university, interested in here and now benefits, cash benefits. But also on the other extreme was long-serving standing employees that have been there 15, 20, 30, 35 years that just want stability. That's it. How do you work with that? This particular organisation had a rich plethora of benefits, and it was about, again, repurposing and repositioning what they were offering to make sure it fitted their demographic at the time, but also covered the engagement piece as well. You've got engineers that are on the ground, travelling for race meets, but also you've got HR, operations, all those sorts of people that are desk-based. And what we did, the outcome of our strategic review for them, we implemented a flexible benefits platform for them, which drove the engagement across all of the workforce. So whether they were at work or at home, they had access to their benefits anytime they wanted. But also, we were able to wrap around their wellbeing initiative, which took that pressure away from HR because the platform was doing it for them, and the reporting was coming out of the platform as well. We established a wellbeing committee, governance committee, and it's pretty much the same key stakeholders that we had on the pension committee, so it worked really, really well. And there are synergies to that, not only with the people, but the things you're going to be discussing. So financial wellbeing is a big part of pensions at the moment, but it's also part of wellbeing alongside the physical and the emotional side of things as well. We coupled that against a wellbeing calendar, and it's just picking up on things that happen throughout the year, and while simple, effective. So little things like, whilst there are discounts for Christmas, so people wanting to buy various bits of technology or, you know, their food shopping, they get discounts, but it was also around saving for that 5-week January period that we all hate, but it works so well for them in that just that little bit of strategic thinking, actually don't spend all your money in December, save some for January. God knows I know how that feels, but it worked really, really well for them. So it's little nuggets like that I think you can include in your wellbeing calendar, which have massive impacts on business and morale and productivity, etc. And again, it's the ongoing monitoring and updating and reviewing and just keeping it fresh. Finally, don't forget to ask your employees. I think there's always a danger that we don't ask. I think those sort of statistics and stats speak for themselves. There's so much of a disconnect in what the employer believes and what employees think and feel. So don't forget to engage them as well during this process. Why don't you find out for yourself? See where your gaps are. We have an appraisal tool that takes 5 minutes to complete, which will identify some of those gaps and give you some useful steers on how to plug them, how to fix them, how to develop, how to enhance your current wellbeing strategy or programme. It's free and you get a full report at the end for that. Thank you. And any questions?
About asking your employees, you know, their input, did you use a third-party company to take a survey for that, or how did you do, asking your employees what do they want to see, etc.?
That's a really interesting question because we do this for a number of our clients, and it really depends on the structure that you already have in place. Some of our clients have employee forums, where they have pockets of employees that they've brought together from different divisions or different locations, and they talk about a variety of things within the workplace. So where you have an employee forum already in existence, and they're a really useful resource to tap into. And you can use that to spread the word and find out what people are thinking on the ground. Where you don't have that, then we've done it one or two ways. We've provided the questions to form part of a wider employee engagement survey. If some of our clients already run these on an annual or biannual basis, and we've just supplied them with 2 or 3 questions that are focused in particular areas. But where we are looking at wholesale strategic reviews, then we are setting up either specific interest groups, so in specific forums or committees, or doing a wider engagement survey specifically around the benefits and the well-being issues that are being experienced. I think the difficulty with a survey is that you set expectations, or you can set expectations, and that's quite dangerous because you don't know what's going to come back out of it, and then you've got to do something about it. So it's the objectives of the company that are important, what your objectives are, what do you want to achieve out of it, and what do you already have in place that we can tap into, so it's seen as business as usual rather than setting the bar that you then have to do something and effectively address the concerns that have come up. I think a lot of the themes today have been take you on, I hate the term, but take you on a journey, small steps. And if you send out this great big survey and set all these expectations and you don't do anything, then actually that can be counterproductive. Does that answer your question? Good, sorry, a bit long-winded there. Any other questions? We have found, sorry. Yeah.
You talked about asking your professional advisors to help and support you in looking at your wellbeing strategy. So what's the best way to engage your professional advisors to do that?
Well, we found that we've been engaged quite extensively with our clients because of the work that we've done with our appraisal, because of the work we've done with their wider benefits restructuring and the work we've done. We found that they've come to us. So if you have got a benefits advisor, then ask them what they're doing in terms of the well-being, what their research shows them, how they can help you. Our role really is to guide you, to help understand your business, understand what your objectives would be. The governance is absolutely key. We do what we call active governance, whether it's pensions or well-being, and finding out those objectives, finding out how we can measure various elements of your wellbeing strategy, members' behaviour, maybe it's the absenteeism rate, maybe it's the number of hits on your website in particular areas, maybe it's through the 2 or 3 questions in your employee engagement survey, looking at your HR and your culture, your policies, looking at the environment that you work in. Our appraisal takes in all of that, not just the products that an advisor would normally sell, because that's only quite one-dimensional. Well-being is all about your environment, it's about your culture, it's about your HR policies, about your working practices, as well as whether you've got dental cover. So you need to have an advisor who can help you on that. Not every advisor is equipped to do it, but it's becoming more of a mainstream area for people. And clearly, you know, the evidence today, so many people have turned up for this. It's really in demand. So we're developing with you, I guess. Yes, a question over.
Hi, I'm just wondering whether or not you've rolled this out anywhere outside of the UK.
No, at Premier we are a UK-based advisor. Having said that, some of the philosophies and the strategies that we've built for UK-based companies where they have satellites or offices abroad, some of them are translatable, but we don't have that coverage globally or outside of the UK. If you think about some of the health concerns, if you're going to get cancer, you can get cancer all over the world. So it's tapping into then the local assistance and services that are available. And things like campaigns around Dry January, you know, you can do that wherever you are. So it's those sorts of things that if you have a calendar of campaigns, it doesn't matter whether you're in the UK or Europe or further afield. You just have to tweak them so that they take into account the local services and facilities that are available, as well as, you know, you don't possibly have the same NHS coverage. So what do you have in those local countries that would satisfy those needs? Thank you very much for your time. I think we are out of time. Thank you very much.